All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, 2014, and this is Before the First Cup with Jules on UCY.tv. Hope everyone is doing well. Haven't seen you in a few days. It's kind of overcast today. Looks like it's going to pour, actually. Kind of hot and yucky out here. And I'm just trying to determine how well show's going to go over today as everything has stopped working again. Yes, how mysterious. Everything worked yesterday and nothing works today. Look at that. Including the alarm clock on my phone. And I was just thinking about that. I have 4 alarms that go off every day at different times of the day. Actually, they're later at night. One's first thing in the morning, the other 3 are at night. And they are for my weird sleeping patterns that I maintain to run the network, you know. I'll get up a couple times and from a nap so I could post for shows and switch phones and whatever. And then I have my one late night one. So if I need to get up, it will still wake me up. And out of the blue, now these have been going on for, I don't know, probably 6, 8, 10 months. And these alarms, the one alarm is called Heidi's. So it was in there since my Vegas trip. And they just stopped working yesterday. So no reason for that at all. And all the alarms stopped ringing. They're just silent alarms now. So I don't know what good an alarm is if there's no buzz. There's been so much going on, and I don't know if I even want to say anything. Do I want to be a big jerk and play Teletubbies music or something? Oh, no, I couldn't because it's copyrighted. What can we do on air now that won't get us into trouble, I guess, is the big question that I'm looking at now. What can we say? Should we just start parroting what they're saying? Should we pretend like it's all right? Should we do a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton? Did you see that? I saw some bullshit yesterday going, I'm broke. Please, woman. You know, I made the dumbass mistake of sending you money back freaking 8 years ago. Don't ask me to do it again, because this time it's going to be George Washington with a big nasty face drawn on him. What on earth? I just saw something that says Glock is now closing their doors for good. And it's a link to an article that somebody has posted, and you click on it, and it says that it's a joke with some flash thing in it. That was very odd. Gee, I hope I didn't just get a virus. It's exactly how you get viruses. Don't click on shit. No, it really upsets me that we are now being put in a position that you're not even allowed to speak the truth. You know, when this all started, my husband was pretty worried about stuff, and I was like, look, here's the thing. This is still America. Okay? And in America, you can open your mouth and you can say what you want. Right? Free speech, that's what it's all about. And we know that's what they've been attacking all this time. They are going after free speech, and they want to shut us up, and especially those of us that are getting close to some of the shit that they're planning. Some of us that have actually put the puzzle pieces together. Click, 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 click. They go, oh, no, we can't let the truth get out there. So yesterday, and the day before, I don't know, every day is the same now. I work 7 days a week, so I don't ever get a day off. Rarely. I did. I got off for exactly 23 hours and 45 minutes between Saturday and Sunday this past week. And drove 4 hours in the middle of it. And I lost my train of thought. Should I just groan like that? Shit, what was I just saying? And I interrupted myself and forgot. It's still early too, guys. I only had about 2 sips of coffee. I don't know. I was just going to say, every day seems like it's the same now. And it's been feeling like this for a while, like Groundhog Day. Bill Murray. Just over and over and over. And the shootings, and that's what they want. They want everyone to get used to it. Bang, 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 bang. Hey, look, just another shooting. Gotta tell you, like the first one, as far as news traction, was huge. What was that? The freak? The I can't get laid kid? Wah. Which, that wasn't even the first. That was just the first, like, in this latest spate. It's been going on, a couple weeks now, but, as these continue, people become desensitized, and we've seen that over and over again. Now, I have my libtard friends, which most of them, to be honest, I don't really even talk to them anymore, but I've known them for a long time. My one buddy I've known since, early days of college, so he annoys the piss out of me, and every time we talk, we usually argue about something, so we usually don't even talk, and I still see his annoying posts on Facebook, and he's got a PhD, too, and he knows everything, right, Mr. Know-It-All? But sometimes he's interesting, but whatever. But now he's on the gun shit. And so all I'm seeing is this after this after this, and his girlfriend's the only one commenting, like, oh, honey, you're just so wonderful. And he's like, oh, honey. I'm like, please, you two. But, he comments on this one thing about, I gotta do something. I feel I gotta do something. So posting internet memes on gun violence is actually doing something. I mean, I guess that's what a lot of us do. Except he's on the wrong side. Now, I saw this disturbing... Hold on, if I can get there. Everything was so slow when I first came out here. All my screens were white. Like they sucked my memory dry. Let me see if I can get out and find that story, because I was just so mad. I was not going to reshare it, but I was pretty surprised at some of the numbers I saw, and I wanted to run this by you guys, because I almost thought that there couldn't possibly be 74, I think the number is. Hold on, where's the story now? I thought I saw a story with this yesterday. 74 shootings, I think I read. Since Sandy Hook, somebody put these all onto a Google map. Oh, yeah, the other thing that he's posting shit on is how climate change was caused by us. And one of his friends I saw in the comment section on his post yesterday went after him good. Another PhD who seems to know everything, and it was 2 PhDs like ripping chunks of hair out over climate change. It's kind of funny. But this gun thing, like, nobody's touching it now. It's him and his girlfriend stroking each other. Shit, I see the map, but I thought there was a story that went with this. Maybe someone else did post the story. Hold on. A high school libtard friend of mine. Here we go. Yeah, you know what? I'm not dumb enough to, but they're just posting anti-stuff. All right, here we go. So we heard about So let me back up a little bit. So there was another shooting yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw. This was the shooting that everybody missed because, we've had three days in a row. And like I said, bang, bang, bang. So now no one pays attention. Trauma-based mind control. You start forgetting about things. And maybe that's how I forgot about 74 shootings they're saying there have been since Sandy Hook in schools. Now, please, someone go, bullshit, because that's what I did. I'm like, 74? I haven't seen any 74 freaking school shootings since Sandy Hook. And Sandy Hook was 20, wasn't it like the end of 2012? So I think the New York Safe Act passed right at the end of 2012 to then be full-blown enacted by April 15th of this past year, which I found out it isn't even fully rolled out, by the way, and we'll look at that, too. It's only partially funded. So the 10-round magazine from 30 and no pistol grips and some of that silencers or some of that other stuff that threaded barrel, I think, makes it an assault weapon. Some of the other stuff that we talked about that was a big deal. There's way, way more that's a part of this New York Safe Act that's going to make you go, F the what? Because I know it did to me, and I know it did to a lot of my friends that are very up on what's going on. All of us were just like, this is very bad. But 74 apparent school shootings since Sandy Hook. Now, I'm going to, you know what, guys? I'm going to, just because I'm looking for some feedback. It doesn't do any good then if I'm sitting here with no chat. So let me bring up chat because I want some interaction from the room. And tell me if I'm nuts. Has there really been 74 shootings since December 2012 or October 2012, whatever it was? And that to me just seems like there's no possible way that there could be that many shootings. All right, so there was another shooting in Seattle yesterday. The kid was killed long before the party even got started. And that's when all these people started posting this crap. So anyway, my friend, he's like, I need to do something. How can I stand idly by and watch all these innocent people get killed with these lax gun laws? That's what he posted. Now, he grew up Plinkin. He grew up in the country. So talk about like country boy turned libtard retard. And just how, that's what kills me. It's like it doesn't matter what your education is because it doesn't make you any smarter if you don't open your eyes, think for yourself, and pay attention. I was there once, and I really do think, and now I've been doing a lot of reading on it, but I really do think that they have a method for brainwashing. And anyone that's fallen into this Obama kumbaya bullshit was brainwashed. I was there. You guys remember. Back from that day, I was certainly there. And you know what happened? It was when I was watching his speeches. I watched all of his speeches until after he got elected. And then I turned the TV off and I went back to my 60-hour-a-week work. Figuring that, hey, everything's good now. We got somebody who's going to fix everything in office. I can go back to doing what I was doing. And then the dumbasses posted the birth certificate. I've told that story before. So I was like, ha! I was going to prove all of my crazy conspiracy theorist friends wrong. Yeah, well, wasn't I surprised when I opened it up? And you know, it was amazing because before that, I didn't want to hear one word about the birth certificate. It was la, 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 la. And my father, he kept saying, Jules, there's something not right. I'm like, nope, la, 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 la. I wouldn't listen. But once I separated myself from his forked tongue that he used to use in his speeches, all of a sudden I had a much clearer perspective. Like, all it took was one sledgehammer to crack the glass, and that was me seeing the layers in the birth certificate from the actual certificate that I personally downloaded from whitehouse.gov. And the only reason I did that, because I wouldn't look at it, I wouldn't listen to it, I wanted nothing to do with it, because everyone who thought it was fake was just trying to be mean. But when I saw it for myself, and the only reason I pulled it down is because I was sitting here going, ha! I'll show you now. Look, he's got a birth certificate. And when I opened it, that was one of those moments when the room started moving all by itself. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then that was the moment that just all the bullshit started to go bing, 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 bing. I started to see it all. So, I don't know. I really do think that they use neurolinguistic programming, which we should do a whole show on that. I think we should do a bunch of shows on mind control, actually. This is pretty interesting stuff. Some of the experiments we've been looking at here just recently, last week, as a matter of fact, right before the newest spate of shootings, they were talking about being able to manipulate, control, erase, and replace memories in mice using trauma-based mind control. Wrapping an electrical lead around a mouse's foot and giving them an electrical shock every time they wanted them to forget something. Wow! I was talking about all this to my husband the other day at dinner. And I was like, that's just like 9/11 with that Category 5 hurricane headed smack dab for the center of New York City that nobody remembered. I didn't. My sister lives there. She has for 20-some-odd years. So I'll tell you, when 9/11 happened, we were freaking out because we couldn't find her. And all the phone lines were down. I mean, it was pretty traumatic. But how on earth would I not remember a big, fat Category 5, it was juicy too, rolling up the coast, heading for Manhattan? How? And I'll tell you, I didn't. For years, I had no recollection of it whatsoever until I first got into this movement. And one of my friends showed me a video when they were talking about it. They're like, oh, and when that hurricane was heading for New York on 9/11, I'm like, what hurricane? They're like, the Category 5 that made the right-hand turn? Like, what Category 5 that made the right-hand turn? They're like, the one heading right for New York City the day before 9/11. I'm like, I don't remember that. And there are videos out there of all the mainstream news showing weather with this hurricane coming, except the oddest thing is, like, none of the weather people seemed very concerned, like they knew it was going to make a right-hand turn. And I really put on my science hat, my meteorology hat for that, and thought about it. I mean, I know there's all kinds of conspiracy theories, which we're not going to talk about those, because, hey, those people are crazy right-winger Tea Partiers. At least that's what the newspaper says. But yeah, there are a lot of theories as to how that could have happened. I was thinking of maybe like a high pressure system might have been over New York, so as it was coming up, I mean, it's all physics, it's like playing pool. If that high pressure was sitting over New York and that hurricane was coming up the coast, most weathermen probably wouldn't be concerned about it, because as it hit that high pressure, it would bounce out to sea. But I find it hard to believe that in 2001 they didn't have a thing as ratings. Right? And you guys know what I'm talking about. Watch the Weather Channel now. I mean, they made this quite a science now. Now we got freaking named winter storms. It's Hercules coming in this week. To make it all the more dramatic. But in 2001, they still all practice sensationalism. Hey, and maybe if not on the Weather Channel back at that time, all the local news did. You know, if there was some big-ass story, and please, think about this. A Category 5, regardless if there was a high-pressure system over New York City, they would have milked the shit out of that for ratings. What if that high pressure moved or mysteriously deflated? You know what I mean? Like, and think about the tidal surge flooding the subways. Why weren't they worried about that shit? Like, I just don't get how, when I've seen all the clips now back from that day, I can absolutely understand why everyone forgot it. Because it was like a non-event. But it should have been an event. It was a Category 5 hurricane heading to New York City. So when the planes... Now here's the whole theory behind it. Somebody did something because if that hurricane had hit New York City, all the flights would have been grounded and the terrorists wouldn't have been able to fly the planes in and hit the Twin Towers. Well... Good point. That's exactly what would have happened. They wouldn't have had any traffic. There wouldn't have been any flights flying into New York if they were under a Category 5 hurricane. But was it intentionally manipulated to make sure the planes made it in New York that day? I have no idea. All I know is that when I saw the montage of clips from that day of all of the weather footage, I was just really amazed that A, there really was a hurricane, and B, nobody was making a big deal about it. And that's huge. We don't get Category 5 hurricanes coming right at New York City. That just doesn't happen. So the fact that it wasn't a big freaking deal is huge, I think, in my personal opinion. And then the fact that my only sibling lives there, and I, after all that would have been like my first thought. Holy shit. There's a category. I would have been calling her going, man, get up high, find a high apartment, go to your friend. You know what I mean? Like, I totally would have been on top of that. And I wasn't. Nor do I even remember it until 10, 12 years later. So, just those two examples between the Kumbaya in 2008 that happened en masse, and then the forgetting about the Category 5 hurricane after we were pounded with terror, after seeing burning bodies and people jumping from 100-floor windows. We didn't remember that either. So, like I was saying, though, I was reading the study the other day where they were using electrical leads on the feet of rats to make them forget things. So I don't think there has to be any more proof in the pudding on that. We're going to use flashes of light, too. Which we'll read that. There was another story that was even badder than that first one I read Friday. So we'll get into that a little later. But getting into this gun bullshit and my libtard friends and these maps. So explain to me how 74 shootings, I mean, I'm not that numb yet. Especially since any police brutality cases we are on top of, I post those. Pigmine posts all shooting videos, so how did I not remember 74 of them? That just seems highly excessive. I'm going to read a little bit of this libtard document here just to see what they're saying. So the shooting yesterday in Oregon, the third or fourth one in a row that no one paid attention to now, because the programming is already working. And look at how fast it's working this time, too. You don't have people standing around now. Like, I mean, we had some pretty big groups of people at one point standing around questioning these shootings. And look at how many do you have now? And they're happening faster in sequence. So as they happen faster in sequence, you don't even have time to absorb it anymore. I mean, I know I do just because of the mass amount of news that I try to deal with on a daily basis for all these different sites and pages and feeds and whatever. But if it wasn't for all that, when I go offline, click, I don't pay attention, and I really don't care, to be honest. I have to care. I'm being forced to care, but I really don't. I really couldn't give two fucks about anything anymore, any of this shit. I really couldn't. I want to check out. I've had it. It's just so transparent, and people are just they're just falling for this. And I'm going to play some clips from some of the shit that came out over the last few days from the Nevada shooting, and then and you also had the sovereign citizen in Georgia courthouse. And then you had two Oregon shootings. One was at a college, and one was in an elementary school. And you had the I can't get laid dude in Santa Barbara. And that's all just in the last week or so. But, okay, I want to read this. And they still didn't identify this killer. Oh, but what I want you guys to hear once we look at this is start listening to the buzzwords that they're just pounding into people's heads. And another thing I noticed is that they really are encouraging people to see something, say something. I mean, I've heard that now about 50 times listening to video clips, how this couldn't have happened if somebody would have said something. Have you guys seen that where they're interviewing neighbors and people that hung out with the two in Nevada? That was over the last few days I've seen videos. And they're going, oh, they said things. Oh, I didn't think they were serious. Oh, and they're making certain that they're now showing you all the stuff on their social media and all the YouTube videos he did. And if he'd called into a radio show, I bet they'll find that one too, to show that, you know, he had issues. And people that knew him said, well, he used to talk about that all the time. We should have called the police. And and there was the one in Calgary too. Remember the manhunt? That was a couple weeks back. I was saying, you know, Canada's pulling up nice, close, and tight as butt buddies, pulling them into the fold. When you start looking at all of this, you most certainly see. I mean, I'm doing my own social media experiments, still having libtards on my friends list. And I see how they're reacting now. And that's just a small snippet. I mean, I deleted over 100 people. I was like, you know what, if you haven't seen me in 25 years or called me, then I don't want you on my friends list because you have no idea who I am, what I'm about. And you would be the first retard who would flag one of my posts and send someone to my house. So, bye. Then I guess my mom said a bunch of my old friends and family members are going, oh, why'd she delete me? Well, because it was, I don't know, because it's better that way. You were all hiding my stuff in your feeds anyway. All right, I'm bouncing all over. I want to get back to this map because I want to give this to you guys and then find out if it's just me. You can roll over here. Actually, I will send you the map because there is one that is just a map, and then there is one with a map and a story. So I'm going to read the one with the map and the story. I'm going to give you guys just the Google map. And you can roll over each of the push pins. There you go. You can roll over each of the push pins and take a look at where each of those were. And they give a date, too. Now, I honestly don't have time to go through and independently verify these. I would imagine that if someone put out something like this, that they have enough wherewithal to make certain that the information is correct, because there are lots of people on both sides, and if they started making up push pins, I'm sure someone would call them on it pretty quickly. But how did this many happen then? Is it that we were desensitized long ago? I mean, I remember after Sandy Hook, if you guys do, that there was quite a spate of attack, quote-unquote, attacks as well. All right. It says the data comes from every town for gun safety. A recently formed gun control advocacy group. Oh, I'm looking to see if I can find their website. Nope, I can't. Every town defines school shootings as, quote, assaults, homicides, suicides, and accidental shootings that take place inside of a school building or on the grounds of a school or campus. Hey, I wonder if that includes people who they maybe thought had a firearm and the cops just showed up and killed them. Because I did have another story about that. The number of people that have been killed or who have had altercations with police versus how many innocent citizens were killed in 2013. And the numbers are quite shocking. Let me finish the story. It is hard to find statistically reliable research about school shootings. Oh, okay. But there's no doubt gun violence is still a serious problem in America. Yeah. Except that we just hear a story saying about how gun violence has been going down. And I found that story again yesterday and went into the Pew research that they reference. And there is a very large study that was done on that over a 10-year decade period, looking at the previous decade. And the numbers most certainly went down a very large number. I don't remember off the top of my head. It was like 44% or something, but it was quite a significant number. Yeah, look, they did reference that in here. Despite the fact that gun homicide death has declined substantially in the past 2 decades, about 11,000 Americans are still killed every year in firearm homicides, and about 19,000 die in gun suicides. You know, the suicide thing, I'm going to tell you, I hate when they include that statistic. Because regardless if a gun was legal or not, regardless if we had an AR-15 with a pistol grip or not, if somebody wants to commit suicide, they're going to commit suicide. If they don't have a gun, they'll do it with something else. You know, and you could do what you want to get involved. Some people have tried lots of things. You know, some people don't want to stick around anymore. I mean, I don't know. Some people, hey, are already on medication that's making them suicidal. SSRIs and glyphosate, deadly combination. Remember that? CYP450 enzyme suppression. Makes you violent. It makes you suicidal and homicidal. Back to the article. This is a much higher rate than anywhere else in the developed world. The causes are complicated. Yeah, it's called Monsanto and the big pharma companies. That's not too complicated. But there's mounting evidence that America's loose gun laws contribute to both suicide and homicide. Now, I gotta tell you, my libtard PhD friend, that was like almost the exact mantra that he was beating. Now, I was so tempted. I was so tempted to start dropping links into the comment section of his article, this article that he posted. But I didn't, because it would have probably turned into a bloody fight, and I don't go there on Facebook. Plus, I'm not throwing my ace out anywhere. You know, I don't want to get myself on another list. But I just wanted to illustrate to you guys what's being said out there. Now, tell me, I have you guys in chat, and I know there's a delay, but Is it me? Or do you not remember 74 school shootings? I mean, I guess since 2012, there's been a few, most certainly. I just can't get over 74 of them. And again, I don't know the details of all of these. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to feature any anti-gun legislation bullshit. So I want to look at this other stuff. Hold on. We're going to go out to the video clips now. All right. Hey, look, everything's working again. By the way, good morning. I didn't post a coffee cup either, so if I get a video going here, I can post a cup. There was a very frightening video that came out yesterday. Some of you probably have already seen it, but for those of you who haven't, I would like to play it. Because what's happened now in the middle of all this, right? They've tried all kinds of gun legislation that didn't fly. And so they had to kind of go sniff and sit in a corner and come up with some better ideas. They're like, well, let's just turn up the domestic shooting like on full tilt. That's really what they did. And then, hey, the race card worked back during the first election when everyone couldn't stand Obama's politics. We just said, you must be racist. Remember that? That was the card every time. You must be racist that you don't like the president. What do you mean I must be racist? The guy's a dumbass. How's that? How about the guy's a puppet? How about the guy is doing exactly what he's been told to suck us to third world status? He has the back door open and he's been chucking out the fixtures, okay? That's what's going on here. All the criminals are getting fucking rich, and we're all sitting here holding the bag going, what happened? As they are now lining up to take all the firearms because people are pissed off. I mean, that's clear as day, and that's no conspiracy theory. That's no right-winger Tea Partier, and that's all I'm hearing now. Yeah, I am not on board with those people anywhere. I was a full-blown lefty. Okay, so I don't know what I am now. I'm the anti-bullshit party. How's that? I have no political affiliation. I don't give two shits about politics. I don't support any candidate. I never did. I never voted until I got sucked in by the usurper. Like a cheating-ass boyfriend. That's all I equated to. I was duped. I never voted because nobody deserved my vote. I've never been on board with political bullshit. Because they're all lying sacks of shit. I'm not going to say all, but the majority of them sure are. Or getting their perks quietly. Keeping their mouths shut for their $27,000 a year salary they get to go sit in Washington and not read bills. So they went and sat in the corner, they licked their wounds, they got Barbara Boxer to team up with Feinstein, they started writing some new legislation about mental health warrants. We kind of talked about that on Friday, we can go back through that a little bit, maybe a little later. Family members can now call the police on you if they get this passed, and have them execute a warrant in a seizure based upon, I don't know, your old lady saying you're crazy? Your old lady saying that she's afraid for her life? Come take it? That to me seems a little dangerous. Just on the word of somebody else. How about your wife that you're in the process of divorcing? Who wants to be vindictive? You know, Obama during his executive actions, which there were 43 of them, I believe, that came right after Sandy Hook. We aired that live and did quite a bit of commentary on that. And one of the things I remember him talking about specifically was how important mental health professionals will be in determining whether or not somebody is of sound mind. And now, lo and behold, look at, we have this legislation about a mental health warrant. And right along with that comes the new, not new to the world, because it was for use in the military, but now to the consumer world, coming out with the psychological evaluation done via Android. And then, yesterday, do I not see an ad? And it really got my attention. And let me get out to the page so I don't lose my spot, but I got to find what that was called. Because some of you, I know I dropped this yesterday in a chat, so some of you might have seen it, but chat was really hopping last night, by the way. I hope everybody stuck around for the After the Last Cup show. Primer Time was awesome also, but the After the Last Cup show, just having a round table, and sometimes it just gets out of hand. It was good. I had a good time. I play along. Yeah, here, I see this ad last night for a website called Talkspace.com. And it's got a picture of a woman with her glasses off, and she's kind of holding them in her hand. And it says, get help privately from a therapist now, with a chat box for you to type your problems into, and then it says start free. Seriously? People are that dumb now that they would go to a website and type all their mental issues into a chat box to some stranger who says that they're a psychiatrist online. Yeah, that sounds like a smart freaking idea. Here. I dropped that into chat. Well, you are absolutely correct, Al, but they've already been doing that. Analyzing your Facebook page, analyzing your Twitter. They're scraping it all. Law enforcement has access to all that. They have profiles on everybody. I will guarantee you, too, that they have a library of IP addresses that you come in from. Not you in particular, any of us. And they probably have it equated to all the things that we also type in the chat. And yes, Jax, there's something that happened over the last few days that was quite significant in regards to artificial intelligence. But you know what? We'll back, when I start getting into the psycho-DARPA experiments and some of the new stuff that I found, we actually will take a look at that turn. But they have broken a threshold in artificial intelligence at this point. It is the first time ever in history that there has been a computer that has been able to fool 33% or more of humans that it is a human. Right now, this computer, this AI machine that they've been utilizing, can imitate a 13-year-old boy in chat, having chat conversations, and 1/3 of the respondents thought they were communicating with another human being. Now, do they have technology that is more advanced than that we don't know about? Probably. Have they been working on AI for a long time? Yes. But they publicly have come out and said that they have this. And if everybody remembers back a few years ago, there were, when Keith Alexander, General, former head of the NSA, former head of the NSA, first started on his war on terror and cybercrime and tamping down on internet rumors. Remember all that? That was when Fukushima happened, Hitler and Billy. And Keith Alexander had discussed his new Cyber Patrol division and how they were hanging out in chats. And they had these ways where they, like, one, I don't even know what you'd call them, agent, military guy sitting in a bunker somewhere in some undisclosed location, manning the chat bots, would have a whole, 10, 20 different identities going in different chat rooms. And they would use it to suck information out of people, start making friends in places so they could become part of a group. Now, one of the stories that I listened to yesterday talked about how one of the only ways around this is to really step it up and start infiltrating all these groups. But, I know, so I kind of got off topic here. So what I want to play this clip because this video that came out yesterday is probably the scariest thing I've seen yet. And on top of all of the trauma base, and back to when Obama was first elected, and if you didn't agree, they were throwing racism out there everywhere, which, like I said, is a load of bullshit. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what the color of your skin is, because to me it doesn't matter. Because there are good people, and there are fucktards in every walk of life, in every color of skin, and in every religion. And in every country. I've never segregated. I wasn't raised that way. I couldn't be prejudiced if I tried. But I sure can be prejudiced against somebody who screwed me over, against somebody who lied to me, against somebody who duped me into believing what they said. And the second they got into office, the looting began. That I have a problem with. And that has nothing to do with anything external. That's inside. That means you don't have the moral fortitude to do what's right. And I have issue with that. Doing what's right is not easy. So if you made it to the elected seat, and now you're like, oh shit, there's a gun to my head, I gotta do what they told me to do, then step down! Let Biden do the dirty work. Did you see him stammering on CNN yesterday, taking pot shots at Hillary? I guess Hillary's already got double-digit support numbers for her run. Blech. And Biden's like single digits, even though he's vice president. But I mean, no surprise there either. He's just a dimwit. And that he was meant to be a dimwit. They put Barry in the driver's seat and then the dimwit sidekick into the other seat. And that wasn't serious. That's why they kept him out of public, too. Because every time he was in public, he opened his mouth and he inserted his foot. But, so in the middle of all this, trauma-based mind control running for the guns, and yes, that is what they're doing. I saw stories too yesterday going, that conspiracy radio guy, he was saying that this is all a setup. Look at how crazy these people are. No, look at how crazy you people are for not being able to see this. We followed this step by step by step. It is a progression. You can't just run in and grab them, and they know that. And didn't Barry say way back when that he was working on something, wink, under the radar? Yeah, under the radar. So what they've turned this into now, just like a little whack-a-mole, is you got freaking Potok popping his head up now. Now these are all about hate crimes. These are all hate crimes by those right-wing Tea Partiers. Did you guys see that? And last Friday, first we had cybercrime. It's cyber attack. This was back when Napolitano was still in. Cyber attack on the United States is akin to a declaration of war. I remember that. But we weren't having cyber attacks. That was when, Anonymous popped up with the videos. I mean, I'm sure that there are real Anonymous out there, but I am sure also, and we already found out, that a lot of these guys were getting caught and then told either you go to jail or you work for us, the CIA. and help, or the FBI and help turn in your friends. Or hey, how about we recruit you to start hacking SCADA systems on utilities to make it look like there's a terrorist attack around every corner, so we can use that to clamp down on the freedoms on the internet. We can use that to justify surveillance for every second of every day of every person of everything they're doing. We didn't have hacks like that. Shit, I worked in computers, guys. Kevin Mitnick. He was the dude. That was it. He was the hacker. Anything before or after that was pretty much small potatoes. You know, I'll tell you where you had some big hackings coming from. China, Russia, Bosnia. There were lots of scams and smart little cookies over there. But most of them weren't coming from here. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I was in the field. I don't remember mass hack attacks anywhere. All of a sudden, the internet and the bad hackers are going to come damage our infrastructure, so we got to clamp down. We need to form Cyber Patrol. Well, then we started seeing the whack jobs pop out of the woodwork, right? And then the mantra, domestic terror. Terror, I mean, that buzzword was already beaten into our head via trauma-based mind control from 9/11. So all they had to do was reactivate that. Beep, hit the red button. Terror, 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 terror. Now, as of last week, we have reformed. I guess it was formed, dismantled. Now it's reformed again under the guise of Criminal Attorney General Eric Holder for Homeland Terror. And they have a whole list of things to look for, like, what did I see yesterday? Prepping. Or believing in chemtrails. Makes you a right-wing Tea Party domestic terrorist. So Potok is all over this. He is salivating and sucking on everyone he can to now get on interviews and talk about how these are all hate crimes. It makes me so upset. Because people are just eating this shit up. And then encouraging now for you to blow in your friends and family. Blow in your loved one because they're mentally insecure. And it'll just be temporary. We'll take his gun. Don't worry. Blow in your neighbor because they're talking crazy shit. You know, I actually should start doing this show with the door closed, to be honest. Instead of having it open to the backyard where my neighbors can hear me. All right, let me pull in my computer that does clips, because we're going to listen to this Potok clip. I know I've been setting this up for almost an hour. But guys, it gave me chills. And this really made me now sit and do some deep thinking. We need to change tactics here. I don't think it's going to be safe for any of us, honestly. And here's the thing that sucks the most. None of us are doing anything wrong. We're not. The fact that we're standing up, calling bullshit. All right, good. I don't have anything playing in the background. The fact that we're standing up, calling bullshit, and them ripping the fixtures off the wall and shipping them out the back door to the lowest bidder makes you a criminal? And what was that quote? In times of universal deceit, telling truth is a revolutionary act? I always kind of thought, that's a neat saying. I didn't think I'd be living it. 4 years ago when we first started doing this stuff, it was like, they're going to be paying attention. Well, they might have been paying attention, but we were just like little mosquitoes flying around then. I think we got close to a lot of truth. I think that they're still trying to make some more time, because they're not quite done sucking us dry. But all those ammo purchases and all the MRAPs went to all your local police forces as your surplus military gear. Yeah, they actually were getting all ready for this, because the next big step is to disarm the public. And if you look historically, through every mass slaughter and every takeover, that's exactly what happens. If people could only see that, they would get it. All right. This is the clip from yesterday with Potok talking about the Vegas incident. I need you to listen very carefully to this. So hope it plays.
Jared became anti-government, anti-police. He was talking about killing cops.
She hugged me, he hugged me, and he said that he had to do what he had to do and the revolution has just begun.
Those were two of the neighbors of Jared and Amanda Miller. The couple police suspect of carrying out the Las Vegas shooting spree on Sunday that took the lives of 3 people, including 2 police officers.
I'm going to pause. So right here, starting to interview neighbors, and I don't know if they do multiple interviews on this or not, but there's a bunch of clips of where they went through like the apartment complex and stuff and started talking to a whole bunch of people, and I just couldn't get over people going, we should have called the police. We should have called. They want it to be that way.
And ended in an apparent murder-suicide. A week after the Justice Department said it would reopen a long-dormant task force on domestic terrorism, today we're getting a clearer portrait of the Vegas suspects. 2 people who apparently hated the government so much they made comments to family, neighbors, and on social media about the need to violently overthrow the government. Today, the LA Times quotes Amanda Miller's father on the topic of his son-in-law, Jared, who has a rap sheet dating back to the early 2000s, including convictions on drug dealing and possession. The father said Jared, quote, was into all this Patriot Nation and conspiracy theory stuff, and the next thing I know, her phone was getting shut off, and she was getting isolated from us. In fact, for a brief period of time in April, the Millers joined the men and women who flocked to the ranch of Cliven Bundy, the Nevada welfare cowboy whose refusal to pay grazing fees made him a cause célèbre among military types. Militia types. One of Bundy's sons has said the couple was booted for being too radical, but before that, an NBC affiliate spoke with Jared Miller during the standoff.
I feel sorry for any federal agents that want to come in here and try to push us around or anything like that. I really don't want violence toward them, but if they're going to come bring violence to us, well, if that's the language they want to speak, we'll learn it.
Police said on Monday that after the suspect shot 2 police officers, they draped the bodies in a swastika as well as the Gadsden flag, a Revolutionary War flag popular with the Tea Party that reads, "Don't tread on me."
When I heard that, and a swastika, now, where'd the swastika come from? This is the first I've heard that anywhere. And, now it's supposedly out there, but, they could be making up anything. And that same woman who said that they hugged her, earlier in some other clip, that woman had said that they hugged the cop after they shot him, and she thought he was taking his pistol. And then I see her later saying that she got hugged in the restaurant. So I don't know. You know what? And that's why I say I don't even give 2 shits about these anymore, because they don't matter. They really don't matter. What matters, though, is now this mantra that is being just pummeled into people's heads. So just start listening for buzzwords.
Jim Minoz still with us. He's a retired ATF special agent in charge and hostage negotiator and an MSNBC law enforcement analyst. And joining us now is Mark Potok, a senior fellow at the Southern Poverty Law Center. And Mark, I want to start with you first because these guys tick literally every box. If a look at their Facebook pages, particularly Jared Miller's Facebook pages, reads like a who's who of conspiracy theories, the Alex Jones stuff. They were sort of into every particular Facebook or every type of conspiracy theory. And Jared Miller wrote on his Facebook page on May 2nd the following: "I will willingly die for liberty. To stop this oppression, I fear, can only be accomplished with bloodshed." And that was on June 2nd. Then on June 7th, which was his last post, "The dawn of a new day. May all of our coming sacrifices be worth it." Shouldn't someone have known about this sort of self-radicalized individual, Mark? Is there any way to know that these kinds of people are out there and to tell the difference between someone who's just talking and someone who's actually potentially violent?
Look, as a realistic matter, I think it's incredibly difficult. The sad truth is that there are thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands of people, who think in very much the same way that Jared Miller thought, who think the government is a tyrant, is a fascist government, is oppressive. The funny thing really at looking at Jared Miller's Facebook postings is he's not really very specific about what his complaints are, about what his ideology is. He's on and on about liberty, on and on about being willing to die to sort of throw off the chains of our tyrannical government. But the issue really that he comes back to again and again is guns. The post I remember in particular from Miller is him saying that if people disagree with the Second Amendment, or a very liberal interpretation of the Second Amendment of the right to gun ownership, they ought to deport themselves or be hung from the nearest lamppost. So it seems to me that was really his core issue.
Yeah.
And as opposed to white supremacy, I really don't think there's anything to that. I think the swastika was simply about saying police are fascists, police are Nazis, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But Jim, the difference too is though that Jared and Amanda Miller actually did something beyond just posting to their social media. They actually traveled to Nevada and were on the Bundy Ranch. They were part of that sort of weird militia group that was gathered around, and in some cases I think still are gathered around that ranch. I'm wondering if, as a matter, since some of the people who were part of that group did point guns at federal agents, and there really hasn't been any follow-up to that, would law enforcement then start to look into the backgrounds of who the people were, or try to determine who was actually on that ranch? They would have found out that this guy had a rap sheet.
Exactly, Joy. Well, I think federal law enforcement agents are doing that. I would expect that that's all been being done. Let's just state the facts. Obstruction of a federal court order is a federal crime. Armed obstruction of federal courts is a crime. Obstruction of justice is a crime. Interstate travel with firearms to commit a felony is a crime. So there's all sorts of crimes that's around the Bundy Ranch, obstruction of the federal courts, and I'm sure law enforcement's looking into that. You mentioned, Joy, that the Attorney General was going to reinstitute some domestic terrorism intelligence unit, but he needs to throw the ATF and the FBI back into, infiltrating the people in these groups who want to commit violence. Let's take Miller, for example, and his wife. These are exactly the kind of people we've seen over the years, and Mark and his team down there know it very well, that we always tried to sort out. They were the very few percent of the Ku Klux Klan or the militia or the sovereign citizens who could not take the defensive rhetoric. They had to go offensive. The clip you played that NBC had in Las Vegas, where he says, if they're coming to get us, that's the defensive talk. But he planned the defensive action. Timothy McVeigh is the same example. They talk defense, they plan offense, and there's a percentage of them that do that. And ATF, as a unit, and FBI have infiltrated these groups to discover those plots and to take people just like the Millers off, because he was a convicted felon, transporting firearms across the state lines, illegally possessing firearms. And it would have been great if we would have got him beforehand, but we have to really work to do it.
Yeah, indeed. Back in 2009, Mark, the Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security put out a report on right-wing extremism. It got a lot of people angry because they felt it was unfair to even talk about right-wing extremism. But this is what they said. They said, despite similarities to the climate of the 1990s, the threat posed by lone wolves and small terrorist cells is more pronounced than in past years. In addition, the historical election of an African-American president and the prospect of policy changes are proving to be the driving force for right-wing extremist recruitment and radicalization. That seems to be self-evident by what we're seeing. And yet this was John Boehner commenting on what happened, the killing of these two police officers and a civilian in Las Vegas. This is
I need to stop for a second. So, yes, it's the election of an African-American president that's caused all this. Did you hear her say that? Get off the fucking toilet, will you? This is just pissing me off so bad. That is absolutely not why people are upset. It's because he's a douche-tard. It's because he's selling it out the back door. And if there is any journalist on the planet out there that isn't standing on their chairs screaming about all the criminals and what they're doing, then they must be paid off or told to shut up. Because any half-dead person, especially if they were immersed in the news on a daily basis, could see that.
He responded when asked if this can be classified as domestic terrorism. Take a listen.
I'm not sure how I would describe it, but clearly we had a couple of sick individuals who engaged in a horrific crime. And our hearts go out to those families, especially to the families of those two officers who went down in there.
Mark, what do you think is behind the reticence to just classify this as domestic terrorism?
Look, I just think Boehner is entirely wrong, and he's had a bit of a track record of wanting to make all of these incidents into mentally ill people. Sure, there's mental illness in the Patriot movement and other radical groups, just as there is in society at large. But that is not what is driving this movement. The 2009 DHS report that you referenced, that DHS in a terrible move repudiated after getting criticism from the right, was in fact spot on. What we are seeing, as many of us understood back then, is a response, a reaction to the many social changes that are going on in this country. In particular, the loss of a white majority, the kind of demographic browning of the population that Barack Obama really represents.
Oh, God!
So the DHS report accurately looked at what the factors were out there, did not, in fact, defame conservatives as all potential Timothy McVeighs, as a whole lot of critics on the right suggested, and really should have been paid attention to. And what happened in the aftermath was that the whole unit fell apart. They were being dissed by their own supervisors, by Janet Napolitano, and they've now all left. So DHS is working in a crippled fashion with regard to non-Islamic domestic terrorism.
Yeah, a lot of lessons here, one of which, if you see something, say something, actually does mean something. Those neighbors who decided, we thought they were just talking. Maybe people should pay attention when people are talking like this and talking like this on social media. Thank you so much, Jim Kavanaugh and Mark Potok. Appreciate you both.
Yeah, did you hear how they left that? Maybe people should pay attention. You know, I'm not saying that the dude wasn't like off his rocker, because he sounds like, you know, people that I've come across before that maybe can't chomp at the bit anymore. But hey, you know what? Everybody feels that way. I don't know anyone, at least people who are awake, who don't feel that way, who aren't frustrated over all this. Most of them aren't going to go do something dumb like this guy did, putting himself out there to the point where he's dead now. And all it does is actually makes everything worse, because now he's become their tool. Now, I was surprised that Potok actually stopped short of saying that this was mental illness. Boehner did. But he backed off. He's like, well, not all the Patriot movement is mentally ill. But you know that is what they're pushing for. Mental eval. It's one of the things that is a part of the New York State SAFE Act, as a matter of fact. And let's take a look at that really quick, because I think I still have that open. Yes. There's a group in New York called SCOPE, and they are one of the groups that are in the process of suing New York State for infringing on federal law with the SAFE Act. And they put out a brochure that actually goes through assault weapon definition, the legal requirements under the law, the penalties and offenses, and then the permit, licenses, gun sales, and ammo sales by law. And there are a few things in here that I was pretty surprised about, I could tell you, because I don't remember seeing this on any New York State website where they had things enumerated. We all knew about the 30-round down to 10-round magazines. And trust me, don't think that this isn't going to be rolled out. I mean, New York passed this in the dead of night without public comment right after Sandy Hook, before anything was even done in Connecticut. You know, Sandy Hook actually is like the new 9/11, apparently, for firearms, right? 9/11 started the war on terror. Sandy Hook started the war on our personal freedoms. So we know about the 30-round to 10-round for any semi-automatic with a removable magazine. it is, I believe, a felony, and we'll get down and look at what the actual penalties are. Also, any semi-automatic pistol that has a folding stock, has a pistol grip, a barrel extender, flash suppressor, or capable of accepting a silencer, so it's got the threaded barrel. And that was kind of what they publicized. But listen to this. Your legal requirement by New York State law, if you legally own a rifle, shotgun, firearm, previously classified as an assault weapon or now classified as an assault weapon, you are required and subject to. You must sell all assault weapons. You must register all assault weapons with the state police. You must renew your registration of all assault weapons every 5 years. Assault weapons may not be transferred to a new owner in the state of New York. Assault weapons may not be inherited, and assault weapons are confiscated or turned in on the death of the possessor. Now that was a new one to me. You can't pass your firearms down? Penalty offenses by New York State law. Offenses for more than 7 rounds in a magazine. Yeah, and that was actually, that is true, too. It's a 10-round magazine, but in New York, you can only have 7 rounds in the 10-round magazine. Not 10. 7. Offenses for more than 7 rounds in a magazine or other feeding devices. If it's in your home, first offense, $200 fine and a Class B misdemeanor. Second offense, a Class B misdemeanor and 3 months in prison. That is for more than 7 rounds. If you are outside your home, first offense, Class B misdemeanor and 6 months in prison right off the bat. Second offense, Class A misdemeanor and up to a year in prison. Possession of a large capacity magazine is a criminal act. Possessing a large capacity magazine with a capacity of more than 10 rounds, or there have actually been a couple guys busted already who've had 10-round magazines with 10 rounds in it. That is also illegal. 7 or less. With a capacity of more than 10 rounds is equivalent. So possession of a large capacity magazine, so this would be a 30-rounder, with a capacity of more than 10 rounds is equivalent to criminal possession of a firearm. So you got a 30-round magazine with nothing in it. Those all were supposed to have been turned in. You are guilty of a Class A misdemeanor for failing to securely store your weapons to prevent access by an ineligible person who resides in your home. So if you don't have a safe. You are guilty of a Class A misdemeanor for failing to report the loss of theft of ammunition or firearms to the authorities within 24 hours. So if I had a box of ammunition go missing, I need to report that to the cops. All firearms, rifles, shotguns, registered assault weapons must be accurately inventoried for the estate of a deceased owner. Estate planners and legal professionals are liable for inaccurate records and must share the inventory with the Division of Criminal Justice. Permits, licenses, gun sale, and ammo sales by New York State law. All ammunition sales must be made by registered ammunition sellers, and sales require the following. All ammunition transfers must be done in person. All ammunition transfers require a background check that fulfills the requirement of the state police. All ammunition sales must document the amount of ammunition purchased, the caliber, the manufacturer and model, the serial number if available, and any other distinguishing characteristics. All ammunition purchase records must be kept by the seller of the ammunition and subject to inspection by law enforcement. Straw purchases of ammunition is a crime. No private transfers of ammunition are allowed in New York State. If the state database or NICS system is able to determine the purchaser is not eligible to possess ammunition or a firearm, the transfer cannot proceed. Definition: a large capacity ammunition feeding device is a magazine clip, stripper clip, or any other ammunition feeding device with a capacity greater than 10 rounds. If the state database or NICS system is not able to positively identify the purchaser of ammunition as eligible to possess ammunition or firearms, the transaction may proceed, but the transaction details will be transmitted to the state police. So they'll let you buy your ammo even if you don't clear their system, but they're going to know where you live. All current firearm licenses, pistol permits, and all new firearm licenses and registrations, pistol permits, assault weapons registered, expire in 5 years or less and must be renewed before expiration or the possessor is guilty of a criminal offense, i.e. criminal possession of a weapon. Renewing your firearms license subjects you to the following: a firearm registry check, a criminal background check, a new photo ID documentation for permit and license, updated address information, and how about this one, a mental health records check. I gotta tell you, even enthusiasts and hunters and people that have followed this debacle in New York very closely didn't know about some of those parts of the SAFE Act. And from what I understand, there are parts of the SAFE Act that are not fully funded yet, which I'm assuming is like the ammunition thing, because to my knowledge that still isn't in full swing. You can still get ammo without every freaking bullet being serial numbered and tracked. But let this be a big fat wake-up call, because that literally happened overnight. That legislation went boom, they got it passed, no public comment. They are suing the pants off the state. The Supreme Court has freaking turned it all down. This new group, Scope New York, is a bunch of attorneys, I guess. And in the state, we have a lot of sheriffs and law enforcement that are saying that they will not enforce some of this law, that they turn around and told Cuomo, this is administrative bullshit. We don't have time for this. You know, I mean, a lot of officers are gun enthusiasts, which is one of the reasons why they became officers, so they don't want their rights taken away either. You know, they understand a responsible gun owner. All right, I want to play now another clip that is titled "The NRA and Gun Crimes in America." Again, another assault. Now, you know Bloomberg. It was Bloomy, Schumi, and Cuomo in the unholy tree in New York. Bloomy is now gone. And the last I saw, he was firing up his billionaire anti-gun bus to go traveling across country again to go head-to-head with the NRA. That seems to be his new thing that he wants to protect us all from ourselves and the NRA. And people like Ted Nugent. All right, here, hold on.
Santa Barbara, Las Vegas, and now Troutdale, Oregon. We seem to have a mass shooting every week, and it would become easy to become numb to these tragedies. But it's still worth thinking about them and trying to learn what lessons we can. We're still learning the details from this latest tragedy in Troutdale. But in the weekend shooting of 2 law enforcement officials and 1 civilian Walmart shopper, there's already a lot for us to consider. In 1958, the headquarters of the National Rifle Association had these words on the wall: firearms safety education, marksmanship training, shooting for recreation. And according to Michael Waldman of the Brennan Center for Justice, pragmatic firearms safety was in fact the NRA's focus. The NRA was established to improve the poor marksmanship of soldiers, but morphed post-World War II into an organization for sportsmen. They stood in support of tighter gun laws following the assassination of JFK, and they backed the ban of Saturday night special handguns, saying that the NRA does not necessarily approve of everything that goes bang. In 1977, all that changed. In a move dubbed the Revolt at Cincinnati, conservative activists kicked out the old sportsman-focused leadership of the NRA and replaced it with a new guard. This new guard wasn't focused on safety, but on an absolutist interpretation of the Second Amendment, an absolute opposition to all gun laws. Today, a new slogan graces the walls at NRA headquarters. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Absolute opposition to gun laws only makes sense if there is a genuine threat from the folks with the really big guns, the government. If you are truly fearful of government tyranny, if you think they're going to come for you and your family and your freedom and your guns, well, then you need a full arsenal on demand, as much firepower as possible with no checks and no lists. It's no surprise then that the NRA's rhetoric quickly turned anti-government, apocalyptic, conspiracy-minded. In order to grow their membership, they had to make this government threat seem real. In the 90s, then Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre referred to law enforcement agents as jackbooted government thugs, adding, in Clinton's administration, if you have a badge, you have the government's go-ahead to harass, intimidate, even murder law-abiding citizens. In the Obama era, LaPierre has warned that President Obama's re-election will result in the confiscation of our firearms and that nothing less than the future of our country and our freedom will be at stake. At a gathering of the annual CPAC convention, LaPierre said, "All of what we know is good and right about America, all of it could be lost. If Barack Obama is reelected, it's all or nothing. All or nothing. Nothing less than our freedom is at stake. Jackbooted government thugs." When Jared and Amanda Miller allegedly murdered 2 law enforcement officers and a civilian over the weekend, they were not coy about their motivation. Over one of the slain officers, they laid the Tea Party Don't Tread on Me Gadsden flag and a swastika. Over the other, they pinned a manifesto proclaiming the start of a revolution. On Facebook, Jared wrote, "I have compromised enough. Either you stand with freedom or you side with tyranny. There is no middle ground." The Millers are responsible for their own horrific actions, but the apocalyptic absolutist rhetoric, the constant warnings that our very freedoms and liberty are under assault, can provoke the unhinged. It can lead them to believe that extreme action, murderous action, is just and patriotic.
Are you listening to this? I'm sure you are, but I mean, she's just rattling off every buzzword. And the fact that the NRA has been calling him out for a while, I'm like, dude, he's got it right on. That's exactly what's been happening. Listen to people like Bill Cooper. I mean, this isn't a new thing. There's been a march for a long time, and they've been trying to take away firearms. And every time they try to push one of these bills, there's another mass shooting. Or someone, I mean, wasn't that the Brady bill? Isn't that how the last time they managed to get some legislation through was because of Brady getting shot? So they whipped through the Brady bill. I mean, guys, this is actually a clip from MSNBC, which is a place that we normally don't get clips from because I just cannot stand their far left, insane, freaking shit they spew. But are you hearing the way, I mean, it is like they have put a crosshairs right on us, and they're like, we're coming for you now. I mean, honestly, dissent with the government and think that they are doing things that are wrong, and you are unhinged. She said that. Wait, I'm going to back this up. Unhinged. Here.
They were not coy about their motivation. Over one of the slain officers, they laid the Tea Party Don't Tread on Me Gadsden flag and a swastika. Over the other, they pinned a manifesto proclaiming the start of a revolution. On Facebook, Jared wrote, "I have compromised enough. Either you stand with freedom or you side with tyranny. There is no middle ground." The Millers are responsible for their own horrific actions, but the apocalyptic absolutist rhetoric, the constant warnings that our very freedoms and liberty are under assault, can provoke the unhinged. It can lead them to believe that extreme action, murderous action, is just and patriotic. It allows them to cloak their crimes, in their minds at least, in the noble cloth of revolution. Jared and Amanda did not start a revolution with their murderous rampage, but perhaps The innocent blood that they spilled will provoke some reflection on the cost of all that doomsday political rhetoric.
Yeah, the cost. I mean, here's something I have to say. All of us need to be cognizant of the fact that there are people out there that are on the edge. But people have been on the edge forever. You know, any type of coming doom and gloom is going to put people on the edge. So we should be cognizant because we don't want to incite anything. I mean, I know some people are probably like, yes, we do. No, we don't. If you've ever been in any type of situation where it's complicated, probably the smartest things to always do is hang back and watch what happens for a little while. You don't want to be the first in line. I know I'm not the one, especially, like, let's say someone breaks into your house. You're not going to run down, or maybe you will, and attack them. I would kind of hang back and get a tactical feel for what the situation is, and then use my smarts versus brawn to figure out what to do. But what they're trying to do now, I really think, sure. What I think they're trying to do right now is incite people to come out and show their hand. So this whole Bundy thing that happened, I mean, I know there were some of you that were for it and some of you that were against it, but from day one we were saying, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. They're calling you guys out. Don't do it. If you heard in that Potok clip, the last one, them saying about the FBI is now investigating all those people because it was a crime, pointing firearms at federal agents. Anybody that went there now, I would be very afraid, honestly. Yeah, JJ wants to come on for a second. Hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute. Boop, 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 boop. It's early, so wait, I gotta remember what his name is in Skype now. There we go. Alright. Alright, ring-a-dingy. I think that's where he is. I think he's on his Skype. I know someone else called in too. Sorry, I didn't see. I was talking. There's JJ. Maybe if he's not muted. There you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What?
So far.
Oh, thank you.
It's a rain day, so I happen to be here.
Oh, good, good.
I listened to that Potok clip last night.
Honestly, I wasn't even going to talk about this today because everyone's beating these shootings like a dead horse, but
listen,
it's very disturbing.
That couldn't have happened better if if Potok had written it himself, draping a Gadsden flag over the dead cop and then talking about what have we heard, the Second American Revolution, and I'm surprised he didn't go, the Tree of Liberty needs to be watered with the blood of tyrants. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, of course, they reference Bundy, right? Again, why isn't Bundy in jail?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question.
And
there's people still there.
And I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so or anything, but, man, guys, Alex Jones, Pete Santilli, Oath Keepers, these guys are... Oh, do I need volume? Hold on. These are guys that are part of the co-op. They're part of the COINTELPRO. Alex Jones. It's got SPLC written all over it, all right? Elohim City and Timothy McVeigh. Elohim City and Timothy McVeigh was an SPLC, operation. And, guys, I'm just telling you, this is what they want. All you guys that are like, listen, now I forgot because the school just called. That was that phone. So now I just forgot what I was going to say.
The buzzwords.
We're doing, well, yeah, exactly. The buzzwords. They're trying to make us look like lunatics. Us people who want things to be different, who want to hold people accountable, who want to change things. All right, guns aren't going to do it, and they know that. But that's what I mean. Exactly what I predicted is happening now, and that the thing was just totally. It had to have been totally scripted. We'll find out later on that this guy had, probably, visitors. Frequent visitors over the last month or two to his his lair. I mean, the guy doesn't. You know what I'm saying? I'm with you, and I've been trying to tell people don't get. I just like, Jim Freeland, JJ. Am I the guy that tells people not to freaking support something? No, never. I hardly ever do that. I mean. You and I went to Occupy the day the shit kicked off on Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
And we got to that bridge, and, let me tell you guys, when we got to that bridge, we were all, hell no, we won't go, with the rest of the crowd. But if you can't spot a setup, man, then...
Yeah, you guys saw it, man. You guys saw the bus underneath the bridge, and everyone was going up on the bridge, and there was one way on and one way off, unless you were jumping.
Yeah, so we didn't go on the bridge. We spotted it, and, even if that was all just a photo op and a Soros operation, I'd still supported all those people that I was marching with, just like I support a lot of the regular people that, went out to... Bunkersville, but the from the top down, that thing was an operation. It was what you were saying. One thing, it was like they were calling out, they were seeing who was out there. But two, you got to listen. You hear lunatics like Pete Santilli, like Alex Jones, and they do 4-hour, 5-day-a-week shows. And you got guys, and I know because that's how I was when I first learned of the things that I'm talking about now. Is you would listen to Alex Jones your every waking minute. Red alert, they're coming for your guns, they're coming after you. The tree of liberty, blah, 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 constantly, blah, blah, blah. And, that guy was ready-made. And he's fueling this shit. So that you have to look at all the frickin' examples of things that are changing, of all the little changes that happen by people getting together and changing legislation or changing things in their community, and they're not doing it by gun. I mean, there are times when guns, if you're protecting yourself or something like that, but to try to affect change, is that the change you want? More, little... warlords, civil war, Americans killing Americans?
Well, absolutely not. Violence shouldn't beget violence. Absolutely not. And I know that
time and a place. I mean, you and I both know that self-defense. You should be able to defend yourself anyhow, anytime, anyway.
The one thing that I saw in a clip yesterday that got me was that somebody was actually questioning for Alex Jones and all of his fear porn that he plays, if he shouldn't be held accountable. That was a scary thought to me. I mean, when I talk about things, I try to make sure that things that I discuss are factual, that I have done my research. I don't call, JJ just disappeared. I don't call for people to do bad things because I don't believe in bad things. I'm not about that. I'm about can't we all get along. That's what I've always been about. I'm a humanitarian. I like to help people. That's what I spend most of my life trying to do. Help people, and especially small fuzzy animals. But the fact that they are demonizing, I don't listen to AJ. I do maybe very infrequently if my one friend who's a fan says, oh, did you hear what, blah, blah, blah. I'll go, okay, until the first commercial. And then I hit the mute and I forget about it by mistake. But,
my mission is just to protect my friends.
Well, and your family.
And my family. I mean, no, and I will protect my family. But I just mean this, as far as what my message always is. Yeah, I finally got my modem and my internet fixed, and that was Skype crashing on me just a minute ago.
Yeah, no surprise.
And you got to I don't listen to Alex Jones anymore, but all I have to do is play. And I did listen to him when the Bundy thing was kicking off. All right, you take any of his shows when he was talking about they're getting ready to kill Americans in Bundy Ranch. All patriots, get out there! Ah! And then go back to 1999 New Year's Eve and listen to William Cooper's show. I mean, he's a lunatic, a freaking freak. All the info whore half-truths, everything he says is partially true, could be construed in a certain way, but he is a lunatic who works for the Jew. Well, maybe not the Jew, but he works for the system. Don't believe he don't. And he's a rich man. And he ain't your friend. And don't trust any of these fake millionaire. They don't care about you. And I'm just trying to warn people to watch out when you just go back someone's play, man. It didn't take me but like 2 hours to realize that half of everything that Cloven Bundy said was a fucking lie, and half of everything that came out of InfoWar, Pete Santilli, and all the goddamn Facebook memes, the thousands of Facebook memes, were all half-truth and outright lies. And, look at it now. About a month later, a shooting. He was at Bundy Ranch. They're referencing it. The whole thing was an op, start to finish.
Mm-hmm. It sure was. It sure was. And it was pretty obvious, too, that was coming.
And I'm sorry to the people who say, it's not about Bundy, it's not about the BLM either. It's about kickstarting some kind of violence to cover the fact that the economy's collapsing, and this always happens throughout history. Everybody tells, you need to look at history. I do! Whenever the financial, banking, or elite oligarchs start to become exposed, it always happens, system after system, civilization after civilization, empire after empire, eventually the bureaucracy, the pool of crack gets so large that, it tumbles. But the oligarchs, they always need either civil unrest or foreign unrest. There always has to be a reason for more guns, for more control. And it's not any different. It's always happened. It's going to happen now. It'll happen in the future. But don't be fooled into it. If every other revolution was funded by elite scumbags from Kiev to the French to the American Revolution, why is it always that you can pick it out like this? Boom, we can pick out all the other ones, but when it happens and it's happening in front of your face, you can't, for some reason, you can't admit it, you'll sit there and justify over and over and over how, even though the, preponderance of evidence shows that, you're probably, mistake, just, you gotta move on, you gotta recognize a rotten, apple, and then you throw it out and you move on. Because it's about the movement, and the movement's bigger and older than any of us, Alex Jones, or any of the people in it now. You know what I'm saying? It's an age-old movement. It's generational. It's been going on since the first civilization. There's always going to be.
All I can see looking at what they're doing to the children, I mean, remember this all started with the Hello Kitty bubble guns and the NRA T-shirts and biting the Pop-Tarts into the shape of a gun and suspending children because of it. And
now, us people who complain, who want our children to be safe at schools, right? Now we're out running around with guns and pointing guns at federal agents who are just doing their job, whether their job is working for corrupt pieces of crap, in corporate interest or not. They're still just average working Americans, really. They're not the elites, all right? And then so now all these freaking schools, and we're not focusing on changing, getting into the PTA and getting rid of the Department of Education. We want guns, more guns and cameras and biometric, targeting at our schools, and oh my goodness. Go ahead, we got a caller. I'm going to mute for a second.
Okay, meet.
Hey, excuse me, it's got a problem with it. Hey, thanks for taking my call.
No
It's a
problem.
good video that you put up, and you're making a good assessment of the, the gun grabbers and their priorities. Basically, the bottom line is, if you believe and if you worship big government, if you're an Obama bootlicker, if you're a socialist, if you believe in the man-made global warming hoax, if you want socialized medicine, If you're a government employee, whether it's state, federal, or local, if you want your government cheese, basically you're not a threat to the government, and that's probably close to 50% of the population. But if you believe in the Constitution, if you're a veteran, if you're a gun owner, believe in the Constitution, a constitutionalist, if you, in essence, believe in freedom in general, or against big government, then you are a threat to the powers that be. And I'm sure you remember the situation in Africa with the Tutsis and the Hutus. I always get the two confused, which one were the aggressors and which ones were genocided. But before the genocide campaign started against whatever group it was, I'm terrible to name sometimes, they had this campaign of demonizing this one particular ethnic group. And it might have been the Hutus, I'm not sure. And so on the radio, calling them cockroaches and stuff. So basically, the government is staging these false flag mass shootings, and the whole police state apparatus, DHS, the whole militarization of the police. It has nothing to do with Muslims. That was the raison d'etre to get the police state in place. But it's going to be turned against people that are perceived as a threat to the government, and that's just my take on it. Now, Alex Jones, I used to listen to him religiously, and because I just stumbled upon him by accident here in the D.C. area. Believe it or not, he was on AM radio, and I thought he was at night. I thought he was a kook. And then I got a shortwave radio because he couldn't afford to stay on AM radio here in the D.C. area. It must have been expensive. And then I listened to him, and I got hooked up to Republic Broadcasting. I'm grateful to Alex Jones at a number of levels. I think he's done a lot of good. I think he's exposed a lot of things. I don't think that he's a COINTEL pro. I could be wrong. However, with that being said, let's face it, no talk show host is perfect. I don't listen to him as much as I used to for a couple of reasons. I can't stand his emotional hype. It's histrionics. It's just too much for him to bear sometimes. So now I listen to him maybe 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours a week. I think, generally speaking, he has reliable information, but he does, he has the AJ hype, the emotional hype, and he has a tendency to exaggerate things, although he says he doesn't.
He exaggerates.
He does.
Crap. I know people. Listen, man, he'll sit there with blank papers and say, I have the documents. And you're right. Maybe he isn't COINTELPRO. He's just a rich piece of shit that'll sit there and tell you you're getting screwed by the government. You're going broke. They're taking all your money. Oh, yeah, send me some more money.
Oh, the SC tells you to go
DVD and give it to every person you know. My water, InfoWars, look, he's a businessman. If he's a businessman, if he's nothing else, he's not a patriot, and he doesn't give a crap about any of us, that's for sure. In my opinion. And I'm not saying that you're wrong.
No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how rich he is. I don't know how rich he can get selling the stuff on his internet. I don't think he makes a whole lot of money off it. He probably has a middle-class lifestyle.
No, he doesn't. He's got a huge mansion down on one of the fancy schmancy rivers in Texas.
Well, I'd like to see a picture of it. I'm not disputing you, but but however, I've met Alex Jones a couple of times. Like I said, I live in the D.C. metro area, and I went to the Bilderberg conference that they had in Chantilly. And both times I met Alex Jones. As a matter of fact, I had lunch with him one time.
Dude, he was selling tangy tangerine in Chantilly.
No, he didn't have that with him. But he was self-effacing. He was generous of his time at both times that I met him. And I'm not ready to throw Alex Jones under the bus. I do have certain issues with his style of reporting, if you want to call it that. And maybe he's just a top 8 personality, the Texas, kind of over the top presentation, but there are other places to get information, and he isn't the only one where 10 years ago it used to be.
Right.
And that's just, basically all I have to say. So, they could be ready with the demonization of patriots. I mean, the influx of illegal alien and the children, that's just, there's just so many crazy stuff going on now. And I'll shut up for a second.
Well, here, listen. First of all, let me apologize for sounding like I was being antagonistic towards you. I wasn't. All right, brother.
No, I understand that.
It's my opinion, and it's my contention that the powers that be, the controllers, the oligarchs, are less worried about armed revolution than they are about these peaceful revolutions. Look at all across the country, all across the world, dude. Syria, Libya, all these people were getting together, and they were getting ready to effect a change. They could, you know what I'm saying? In Syria, what happens when enough people get together and they're not violent? They just have had enough, and they're not going to take no for an answer. And they're out in front of the government buildings, right? And they get co-opted, and then they get funded, and then in come the radicals, the guns, and then the whole thing turns to shit, and the regular people get killed, and they suffer. It happened everywhere. It happened in Kosovo. It's happening in Kiev. It's happened in Libya.
Oh, yeah.
Why people think it happening here is any different is beyond me, brother.
Oh, yeah. I'm really ashamed to call myself an American, because our government, along with Israeli Mossad, blew up the Twin Towers in 9/11, and they gave us the excuse to invade Iraq and Afghanistan. We bombed Libya for months, and now the country's in chaos. We're hiring and training mercenaries to attack Syria. The CIA had a staged coup in Ukraine that put fascists and Nazis in power, and now apparently they're shelling towns in eastern Ukraine that are probably aligned with Russia. And I'm hoping that somehow, if we can't effect some kind of peaceful change through the ballot box, either locally or nationally, that with the collapse of the dollar, as painful as that will be for the average person, maybe I'm grasping for straws. I'm hoping for a silver lining in the fact that with the death of the imperial dollar, we not only won't be able to afford these horrible wars that we're perpetuating at the benefit of the European central bankers and the global corporations, because obviously the average American isn't benefiting from this. Hopefully that will come to a halt, and hopefully they won't be able to afford to implement this vicious and, I think, expensive police state. Now, maybe I'm grasping for straws here, but I just frankly, with all the deals being cut against the dollar, with countries selling off treasuries, I don't see how long we can keep this dog and pony show going. I could be wrong. I don't know. Help me out here.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. And the dollar is collapsing. They already, you already know they want that handbasket, that special currencies, and
the special drawing rights.
The special drawing rights. Excuse me. Yeah. The hegemony, the U.S. dollar. Look, our dollar right now, basically, it's our U.S. military. It's the military, 800 military bases in over 175 countries, which is literally more than 3/4 of the planet Earth, is pretty much, the reason that, because if you look at a quadrillion, 2,000 trillion dollars in derivative debt out there, $16 trillion in outright debt here in America per year. I mean, there's just no stopping that. But what I always hear everybody saying, we need things to change, And here's the reason you have people like this nut in Las Vegas, like other people, is because they keep hearing that things have to change, and they think that it should change now. Everything has to change yesterday. There's an easy button. It can't be the next generation. It can't be, you know what I'm saying? It has to be now, and if not, I'm going to go out and freaking do some crazy bullshit and throw a Gadsden flag, although I personally believe that there's a little more to the story than just two nuts, a couple, that went off the rocker listening to Alex Jones.
Well, my personal opinion is I think virtually, maybe not all, but I think virtually all these mass shootings, school shootings that are going on are staged by our government. And also, too, everything from the the one where the congresswoman was shot along with the judge, from the Batman shooting at the theater, to the Aurora shootings in Colorado, to the shootings here in the D.C. area at the Naval Center or something. I think these are all staged by the government, and I think and Sandy Hook, you name it. And I don't think, and the Boston bombing, and I don't think that in all these cases that people are necessarily killed. And if they are, they have their patsies and convenient patsies and their handlers along with them. He may or may not be a trigger man, but they have other people there to cause more mayhem and shoot the people, and of course shoot the patsy, and then they claim later that he committed suicide.
Of course.
So,
listen, does it really matter?
Well, I think
doesn't.
It matters, yes.
I mean, at this point, the way it's played out, does it? I mean, no, and I agree with you that not as many people are killed as are claimed, and there's lots of oddities, and there are actors, and there are operatives. But once it gets out there, now, does it matter? I mean, we expose, or people are still exposing John Kennedy's murder. But, I mean, is it, you know what I'm saying, dude?
Well, if you're trying to make...
It's out there, and it doesn't matter to the general public.
It's trauma. It's all it has to be is trauma.
Yeah. Well, I see the point that you're trying to make. It matters as far as truth goes, but if the average Joe Sheeple believes the bullshit and the lies from the corporate, largely Zionist-controlled media and the government, then as long as you can get a majority of people to believe it, then that's all they need. And they need to demonize, patriots and other people.
True.
But,
True.
Yeah, I see your point.
But listen, man, how long you been around? It's up.
Well,
I say this, and you've heard this a million times wherever you go. The guy that's trying to talk people into setting cars on fire or doing that kind of shit is always the frickin' Fed. It's always the snitch. It's the guy you stay away from. They're afraid of the peaceful revolution. They're afraid of things really changing.
Well, because
the revolution falls right into their freaking cards.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. These patriot meetings or survivalist meetings or whatever they are.
Which is cool. I'm all for them. I'm all for patriots. I'm all for the militias and all that. I'm totally against FBI, CIA, DHS, fucking snitch, rat pieces of crap out there trying to foment civil war in America. Trying to get Americans to kill each other.
Oh, yeah. I agree. The person that's crying the loudest at any of these activist meetings for violence, 99.9% of the time, they're paid feds trying to stir people up to demonize them, to make them look bad. I agree 100%.
At least Jules and I have been sort of saying the same thing for the last month, so I'm glad that's out there. I just look, and you got to look. A Facebook meme with one sentence and a picture of a guy with an American flag is not fucking research. You know what I mean? You're not fully informed if you're using that as your argument.
Well, also too, when you look at the media now, you have to scrutinize everything, and frankly, I really don't believe anything I see on the mainstream media. And apparently, the gas and flag was never draped over the bodies. So we have to look. We have to scrutinize and analyze our news just as someone would do in the former Soviet Union, because it's all propaganda. It's all bullshit. It's all misdirection, and more than anything else are major corporate media outlets lie by omission. But the news that they do show, we have to analyze it, and we can't take anything at face value. Well, what's real and what isn't? So we have to kind of like say, well, is this true or not? So I really can't believe anything I hear on the mainstream or the corporate media. I just, maybe it's true, maybe it isn't. Who knows?
Can I play one last little clip here at the end of the show?
Myself.
Okay.
I'll go and hang up now, Jules.
Okay, great, guys. Thank you for calling in, Meet. All right, JJ.
All right, I'll hang up.
Anytime. Okay, yeah, hold on one second. I just want to play this homegrown terror formation video quick.
And Attorney General Eric Holder announced this week the creation of a new Justice Department task force entitled the Domestic Terrorism Executive Committee. Its mandate is to combat the threat of homegrown terrorists within the United States, citing the Boston Marathon bombings last year and the 2 shooting incidents at Fort Hood, Texas, as examples of the escalating danger of domestic terrorism. Holder has stated, as the nature of the threat we face evolves to include the possibility of individual radicalization via the internet, it is critical that we return our focus to potential extremists here at home. Holder also noted that the task force will focus on individuals within our borders motivated by anti-government sentiments and racial prejudice as well. Lee Rowland, a staff attorney at the ACLU, responded to Holder's statements by saying, the Attorney General Holder's announcement that the new task force will focus on evidence of anti-government animus and racial intolerance raises concerns that it could be a sweeping mandate to monitor and collect controversial speech. The committee is a recreation of a task force created in 1995 by former Attorney General Janet Reno in the wake of the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. The original committee sparked concerns over its targeting of right-wing extremists. Well, it was disbanded after the attacks on 9/11 shifted the Justice Department's focus to overseas terrorist groups.
I mean, tell me if that doesn't just lay it all out.
Yeah. Well, and pretty soon anti-government will mean if you're anti-government, you're anti-Semite and want to, bake people in ovens and, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's all hate. It's hate.
Yeah.
It's hate.
And it's playing right into, I want to stop homegrown radicalized terrorists too. And those are the people that freaking Alex Jones and Pete Santilli, those pieces of crap, breed and foment. They can't wait to see other people get killed. Anyways, hey, thanks for having me on, Jules, man.
Yeah, no problem, JJ.
That was a great caller we had.
Yeah, thank you.
If I sounded like I was antagonistic just because I see Alex Jones as a piece of crap, probably being paid, Well,
hey, we'll continue this tomorrow.
I'll have our own opinions.
We're down to our last 30 seconds, if you can actually believe it.
Yep.
But I have more. You're welcome. I'll see you later, JJ. I have more I want to go into tomorrow. So, guys, well, hey, there's a ton. Apparently, I missed a ton of videos when I fell asleep at some ungodly hour. There's all kinds of new stuff out there. Let's catch up again tomorrow. Make sure you guys stick around. We got Will Roberts on next, John Stokes, Jack Blood, and this is Wednesday night. So, Josh with the Anti-Tyranny News at 6. Try this at home with Dana Martin at 8. Mr. Jimmy Funky at 9 for his 2-hour show on Anti-Media Radio with Nick and DB at 11 p.m. Eastern. All right, guys, thank you, JJ. Thank you, Meat. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. We'll catch up tomorrow. Take care.